Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chair of the Senate Armed Services Subcommittee on Strategic Forces, the Senior Senator from Nebraska, Deb Fischer.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here with you today. I appreciate the work that each and every one of you do and your interest in this subject. For the last 40 years, we have found ourselves in a cycle where every 20 years or so, we prioritize homeland missile defense, make progress, and then slide back into a new status quo. Under the Reagan administration, we saw the first significant effort in the Strategic Defense Initiative. While technology is not yet matured enough to fully realize this vision at that time, it changed the national conversation about the possibilities of homeland defense. In the early 2000s, under the Bush administration, the Department of Defense delivered the ground-based mid-course defense system, placing missiles in Alaska and California, as you just heard. And those were capable of intercepting those incoming ICBMs. Under the current Trump administration, we have the opportunity to make a generational leap forward in missile defense through the Golden Dome program. But first, I want to emphasize why I support a more robust homeland missile defense architecture. In November of 2012, Israel's Iron Dome faced its first significant test. For 8 long days, Hamas fired more than 1,500 rockets into Israel. The Iron Dome intercepted an estimated 85% of these rockets. Later, in May of 2021, of the 1,500 Hamas missiles headed toward populated areas in Israel, Iron Dome intercepted more than 1,400 missiles, and that was over 95%. And then in April of 2024, the Iron Dome faced a coordinated attack from Iran of over 300 missiles and drones. The Iron Dome again passed the test, with reports suggesting that the system thwarted around 90% of the attack. While America's Golden Dome will look different than Israel's Iron Dome in terms of specific radars and sensors and interceptors, the Iron Dome's record clearly demonstrates that missile defense works. We cannot allow an adversary even to begin to believe that they can cripple the United States or that they can deter us from engaging in the world. We must be able to continue to defend ourselves, our interests, and our allies. Simply put, the United States needs a robust missile defense architecture to defend our homeland, and that's why we are here today. As you know, in January, President Trump signed the executive order directing the Department of Defense to develop and to build a missile defense shield for America, aptly named the Golden Dome. In Congress, I have been working even before President Trump was elected in November to lay the groundwork for such a system. I do chair the Strategic Forces Subcommittee in the Senate Armed Services Committee, and my work here led to provisions inserted into last year's NDAA requiring the Department of Defense to develop a comprehensive, integrated architecture for defending America against missile attacks. Under the last administration, it was difficult to get the department to move fast enough and for them to commit resources. However, that has changed under President Trump. He and his team correctly understand the importance of strengthening our missile defense capabilities and are moving quickly. When President Trump addressed Congress in March, he reaffirmed his commitment to the new Golden Dome missile defense shield. I appreciate his leadership here, and I want to commend the Secretary as well, and especially NORTHCOM Commander General Geo, who are working to make this a reality. Both the Space Development Agency and Missile Defense Agency have worked to solicit all of industry's best ideas. I'm excited about what could be proposed, and I expect we will see a diverse array of existing technologies in a multi-layer architecture. To optimize defense, the department must first focus on implementing capabilities that are ready now, while laying the groundwork for advanced systems to come online in the future. This includes current radars and interceptors that work against these advanced threats, and novel technologies too. Earlier I mentioned in 1980s technology and that it couldn't keep pace with the ambition of President Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. But over the last 40 years, and especially within the last decade alone, the space industry has grown exponentially. We can launch satellites into orbit at a fraction of the cost, and the pace of technology development for space-based systems, it is breathtaking. While the details of many of our space programs remain classified, I'm confident that we've seen sufficient maturation in the space industry to take new concepts seriously. And while all this transpires in the executive branch, my colleagues and I in Congress are standing by to make sure that the administration has the resources that are required to properly develop and to be able to implement the Golden Dome. One area that I am acutely focused on is protecting the Department of Defense's access to electromagnetic spectrum. To protect it from those who would force the department to vacate these critical spectrum bands. President Trump's proposed Golden Dome is simply impossible if the department loses access to certain spectrum bands. In March, U.S. NORTHCOM Commander General Geo made it clear during a Strategic Forces Subcommittee hearing that the Golden Dome, it just will not succeed if the Department of Defense is forced to vacate portions of certain bands, such as the lower 3 gigahertz and most of the 7 and 8. U.S. Spacecom Commander General Whiting has concurred with that assessment. For if the department were forced to vacate these spectrum bands, we would not be able to operate radars and sensors that are truly essential for missile defense. A missile defense system cannot hit what it cannot see. Neither can we simply replicate these capabilities in other bands of spectrum. It is not that easy. The Golden Dome will need to provide comprehensive coverage. We cannot afford to have holes in our domain awareness. For example, China and Russia cannot believe that they can sneak around our radars and attack our critical infrastructure without being destroyed by our defenses. As chair of the Stratfor Subcommittee, I will continue to work closely with President Trump, with the Department of Defense, to ensure that we have the technology to sense and defeat our missile threats. The American people deserve to feel safe, and we should prioritize protecting our homeland. After all, the most important duty of Congress and our federal government is to protect our people and to safeguard this nation. I thank you all for your interest in this important topic and your efforts to realize the Golden Dome. Thank you.